From the Edge Media Studios in downtown Indianapolis, this is Indiana Issues. Here's your host, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz.
Hello and welcome to Indiana Issues, the regular monthly public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines and sound bites and bring our political panel. We talk about the big issues facing Hoosiers across the state of Indiana. Today, session's over, so we'll talk about that. And the primary, believe it or not, is less than a year away. Yes, I know. I'm excited too. Believe it. No, not really. So we'll talk about the primary coming up, and also an informal survey with some interesting results with our political panel. Our guests include our friend Democrat Winston, Libertarian Mark Rutherford, and of course Republican Jim Merritt. So, gentlemen, thank you all for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully, you guys got some rest after a session, after that long, hard slog.
Yes.
So, Robin, we'll start with you. Your thoughts of how things went this session?
Oh, I call it shock and awe. I mean, at first there was a shock that went on, and then no, people are going to look around and see what happens afterwards. School funding was cut. Maternity place health care was decimated. The one that really bothers me the most, Abdul, is the school lunch program decision a few days ago not to do the Sunbucks program to help kids get lunches and things like that. Property tax cut, I think it's $300 a year, $25 a month. I guess that means a lot to a lot of people, but not at the detriment of public education and municipal governments that are going to have to raise taxes to provide those kind of services. So all in all, I think it could have been much better for Hoosiers. I'm not sure people campaigned on, other than the property tax cut, some of the cuts that they're seeing across the state.
Jim, your thoughts on how session went this year?
I think it was a roller coaster. You always look at the February 14th explosion, if you will. Something's going to happen, and we always talk about that on the airwaves. But it was kind of up and down. I think that the idea of the forecast coming out in April and being so much of a surprise and impact on that budget, because we all know that this budget, this session, the whole focus was on budgeting for the next 2 years, the biennial budget of the state of Indiana, and I think it really kind of rocked the State House, and so it was a roller coaster. Some things got done, other things didn't, and I think it was just really, really interesting. The month of April was such just a discourse on what was going to happen, and all these outside forces that people were talking about with the tariffs and everything that's going on in Washington. That it's kind of I don't know how to grade it. It might be incomplete, but one issue that dominated it in lots of ways, including just in Central Indiana, really, is property tax reform, and it turns out that nobody was happy with that bill, and maybe that's the right thing. I don't know.
And you make up an interesting point, because, Mark, property taxes obviously were the big issue this session. The fact that nobody was happy with it, everybody was miserable. Normally people are a little bit happy on one end and a little bit miserable on the other, but this one, nobody liked it.
No one likes it. And everybody I'm talking to doesn't like it. Everybody has their problems with it, and there's too much wait and see. Let's see what happens is kind of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from people, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought you all were studying this. Now, we had in April, we had this like big shock that, oh no, we're not going to be comfortable. We're going to have a big, huge gap, a deficit coming up, or taxes, not deficit, but going down. And so it was a very confusing session. And talking to people who were involved in the middle, and they were going, well, we're going to be okay with what the legislature gives us. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're going to get cut a few percent. But it's like, wow.
But here's the interesting thing, though, and Rob, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, a $2.4 billion revenue shortfall is out there, and the revenue shortfall has got to be closed, because Indiana, by law, has to have a balanced budget. Now, the way they do it is they just bond money out. We don't count the bond indebtedness as against the budget. But on the issue of cuts, obviously education and Medicaid are the two biggest expenditures in the state of Indiana. So can you balance your budget without hitting education and Medicaid, because those are the two biggest expenditures that the budget has?
No, I'm not so sure you can, but here's the deal. You go out and buy a $95,000 SUV, you buy an $88,000 SUV, you build a $100,000 helipad. You serve. That doesn't set the right temperature and tone with the people that you represent. So I think that kind of left Hoosiers on the dock looking at what's going on over here. Medicaid has got to be addressed, but here's what nobody will mention. We're being pounded by the tariffs. We're being pounded by the impact and the uncertainty of our economy. If that had never happened, I don't think we'd be facing a $2 billion shortfall. When you got Indiana companies now that are saying, we're peeling everything back, we're not even going to release our annual report because of the uncertainty in the market, that does impact people. But here's what I'm more concerned about. You mentioned schools, $740 million cuts, okay? Yeah, they can go to the referendum process, but what's referendum do? It raises your taxes. So you're putting it right, you're just moving it around. It's just like put it in this pocket and take it out of this pocket. So I didn't know that we really stabilized where we were financially, Abdul.
Jim, on the issue of taxes, I thought it was interesting because on the one hand, the state say we cut property taxes, but does the property tax cut get eaten up by the increase in local option income tax? So that way the state can say, we didn't raise your taxes, it was the local governments who raised your taxes.
Both these gentlemen remember back in the early 90s, and I was there, that we refused to give local government the ability to raise taxes or even have taxes unless it was property taxes. And so it's been a sea change for the last 30 days. What I would have done, what I wish the leaders of the legislature would have done, is be a little nimble. Be a little, change it up a little bit. Maybe sine die with the promise that they're going to have a special session and buy yourself 60 days or so when you're watching the market. All these outside factors that weren't there on April 15th with that forecast, and see if it calms down. Right now, the market's up after Liberation Day. The market is way up and back to where it was prior to that. And so I wish those outside factors hadn't played such a role in the legislators' minds and as well as their mathematics. And what I would have done is I would have had a special session at the end of June, sometime around the end of June, to look at the landscape, to see how it might have changed, because it's already changed now. And you saw Britain with the tariff trade discussion. And what I would have done is then I would have micromanaged this next budget. I would have had a forecast in October 1st, and then at the end of the year. And maybe I would have a special budget budget session starting of January. I think this really demanded that the legislative leaders be nimble, and they were just kind of stuck in the fact that all these factors out there were creating this enormous hill to climb in the way of revenue, and here we are.
Mark?
No, I like your use of the word nimble. I wish they were more nimble. And you don't like special sessions; they cost money. But guess what? This was a time when we don't know what the economy is doing. We don't know what's going on. We always can save money. We can be a little bit more aggressive sometimes than we have been.
And we have before.
And we have before, and you can do it. But this was one where it was just so many factors out there. I just don't know why they weren't like, Governor Braun, we need a special session. We may only be here for a day if things are going okay, but we're not sure what to do. And no one was saying that, although they certainly were acting that way.
Well, Abdul knows I was.
Yes.
You're watching Indiana Issues, the public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines and sound bites and go talk about what's going on here in the state of Indiana. Gentlemen, second topic. Jacob, you can throw the screen up there. Primary, less than a year away. Yay. I'm so excited. So happy. We just got through a friggin' election, and now we're about to do another one. Yay. So where's the action going to be? Because not only do we have a primary coming, we also have state conventions coming up, very contested Secretary of State's race. We have an attorney general who may be on the may not be on the ballot because they may not be licensed to practice law. So, Mark, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, it's
as the other lawyer in the room.
Yeah. With Diego Morales, that it's going to be very interesting. Already, he has a very, very good candidate, the Knox County clerk,
Dave Shelton.
Dave Shelton. He's got a good reputation. People like him. He does the work. He seems like a very, very good candidate, and a person who'd be very good as Secretary of State. And he'd also bother to see what the rules are about what a Secretary of State can do. And what I'm talking about is how you spend money, what you do, what's appropriate. Also, there are rules that are kind of unwritten about what needs to be done, and is that getting done? From the standpoint of a lawyer, the Secretary of State's website is still running quite well, in my opinion, so that's good. But we've got this, the people are going, what's going on here? And you can't have that. You've got, the primary, though, is going to tell me, is it just my friends and people I know and people I hear that are complaining about it, or is it running deeper? And that's what I'm looking forward to on the primaries, to see what happens, what the voters do, and then what do the state conventions do based on what they see at the primaries.
Jim, your thoughts on the primary being a year away?
Well, I think election is always around the corner. It seems like that always happens with social media, and as well as there's a lot of ambitious people around there. What I look for in the next year is somehow, some way, the Republican Party has to get a discipline about themselves. They have to fly right, and it starts from the top. And the idea, and you're exactly right, the Secretary of State's office runs like a top. I just started a new business, and I applied there in the business section, and it works so easily. And so that office works very, very well. But the thing is with a year away, it's just stuff, it's content for us to talk about.
Robin, like I said, we look at the fact we had a primary a year away, and also conventions followed them there shortly. I want to say Diego Morales will be on the ballot. Obviously, Mr. Morales has issues to say the least. But can Democrats beat Diego Morales if Diego Morales is the candidate?
Oh, we can beat Diego Morales. I think Diego Morales is going to be the candidate. I mean, there's that old adage, everybody hates him except the voters, and in this case, the convention delegates. I mean, what you keep an eye on this, who files for convention delegates and what orientation they have in the Republican Party. If you see a lot of conservatives being nominated, look out. He'll be your nominee again. I think he's going to run. He's already got an ad up, although it's got problems already. But I think he's going to run. I think he's going to be strong. Abdul, I think the bigger issue here in Marion County is going to be some of the infighting in our own party about township trustees, township boards, that all-important Lawrence Township Board. I'm just using, I know you know the area very well.
I prefer Pike.
I know. Well, I'm trying to stay out of that. I'm trying to,
Nimble.
Be nimble. That's right.
Nimble.
Gumby. Be Gumby. That's what I want to be. But anyways, that's what we face here. I watch the township trustee battles in the spring here too.
Mark, I know Libertarians don't have primaries, per se. You guys have nominating conventions. And usually they're pretty straightforward for my Libertarian friends. Are you expecting to see any excitement in Libertarian conventions as you guys try to field your candidates?
It's really too early to tell. And a lot of Libertarians, we're looking back and seeing what's going on, who would be the appropriate candidates, who might be interested in running. It's just way too early. But yeah, we have the benefit of nominating convention for all our offices, and we like that. We like to be able to do that because it makes sure you don't have these accidental primary candidates that create problems.
And also want to say for Libertarians, for you guys, it's extremely important because your ballot access determines how much percentage of the vote gets for the Secretary of State.
And we already have Lori Schillings. She's the Hamilton County Libertarian Party chair. She's announced that she's going to be seeking the nomination. So we've got I think she's a good, strong candidate. And so it's moving forward. And that unfortunately, because of Indiana state law, means we have to concentrate on that, even though most people don't, lawyers know what the Secretary of State do, people who are involved with it in business, but most people have no reason to know what it really does.
Well, let's change gears a little bit because another big race will be on the ballot in 2026 will be the Attorney General's office.
Yes.
Once again, the Attorney General was nominated at a state convention. We don't know who the Democrats are going to pull yet, but embattled Secretary of State Todd Rokita may not make it on the ballot because he may lose his law license before the end of this year is over. Robin, you guys just chomping at the bits for that to happen.
Oh, I think you're going to see Todd Rokita have a very strong candidate. The good thing about running against him, you don't have to do a little opposition research. All you got to do is Google, and everything will pop up for you. It's how you effectively get that message out. I mean, he is. I don't understand. You said it earlier. There's got to be some discipline. I didn't see a lot of discipline there among a lot of the top elected officials. So if he continues the way he is, then it makes it even stronger for us to win.
Jim?
Well, on your survey, it looks like Todd Rokita did the best of anybody, and out of everyone. And I think people like him or don't like him, people admire him standing up and having a strong backbone. And so, with his troubles with
everybody's got a strong backbone until you rip it out.
Well, the disciplinary commission may do that.
Yes.
But bottom line is that he's a strong candidate. If it were primary, I think that Diego and Todd would have very much difficulty. But with a convention, I think Diego's going to have a run. But I think Todd Rokita wins in a breeze in a convention because the base really likes Todd Rokita.
I think the question is going to be, is Todd Rokita contested or not?
But remember, he's 28. Don't forget, it's 28. I mean, he just ran.
That's exactly
That's right, yeah.
Right.
So he just
right.
ran. So he's got another 3 years
3.5
to,
years.
to
He just
patch
won.
things up.
Or gives Mike Braun 3 years to fill the position.
Yeah.
Because I remember having a
Now,
conversation.
don't forget Sparks. Now, I mean, come on. You got the cast of Ben-Hur ran against her last time, so you just got to figure out what you're going to do this time with her. I mean, would they have like 11 people run or some number
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
And so
No,
just
everybody-
keep that in
Everybody
mind.
wants to be in Congress.
No,
and
it's funny.
Washington.
Smaller government, more candidates.
No, it's funny, Robin, you bring that up because I had a conversation with Victoria Sparks. She's planning to run again, and she may have a primary. She's going to have at least one primary challenge from Craig Haggard. Chuck Goodrich. Goodrich, Craig Haggard. They all look alike to me after a while. They actually
That's
they
a
do.
pretty good show today.
Actually, I'm on fire today. Same happens when you have your edibles before you come on the air. I think it was interesting that I think you make a point. If Victoria Sparks only has one opponent, I think she's vulnerable. The more people get in,
Yes.
the better it is for her.
Right.
The same thing for Diego Morales in the convention.
It's true. Absolutely.
You're watching Indiana Issues, the public affairs program. We go beyond the headlines and sound bites, try to bring you political news and try to be somewhat entertaining at the exact same time. All right, topic number 3. Jacob is going to throw it up there on the screen here because I messed with my sheet of paper here. We did an informal survey recently, 800-something odd registered voter Hoosiers. We're doing a more scientific survey later on, but these were some interesting results. 63% thought state was headed in the wrong direction. 70% disapproved of Mike Braun, 54% Micah Beckwith, 80% Diego Morales, but only 38% disapproved of Todd Rokita. Jim, let me ask you, what do those numbers initially sort of tell you?
Well, those numbers tell me that 62% approve of what Todd Rokita is doing. And so, and that's what I was bringing up a little while ago about discipline in the party. And it has to come from the top, that you can't step out of line. The Secretary of State's office is not IEDC. They are not in charge of economic development. Things like this, where it just feels like our leadership and our party is branching out into places they are not staying in their lane. And so, what your survey and folks, it's 800 people that it was a very good survey, and most of them were conservative. So most of the base, most of the people that pay attention to politics are not happy, and that we have to take that as a real swipe at us as a Republican Party, because people are starting to look at candidates rather than party, and so you just don't know in a general election if people will flake off.
And I thought it brought up an interesting point, Robin. The fact that it seems like the one thing I noticed in the survey is that it seems like people are angry and ticked off and they're just sort of mad at a pox on all your houses.
Right. They're mad at everything. You said something about the IEDC.
Mm-hmm.
Be good for the Secretary of State to realize that it stands for Indiana Economic Development, not Indian Economic Development. So that would be good for him to know that in the future. As it relates to
I feel like you have a drum here.
I know. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. The whole thing on Diego and the team and all that, discipline matters. I think that matters. But here's what I don't understand. Why would the hierarchy of the party let that be the face of people to Hoosiers? You got one guy that bought a $95,000 SUV, another said, "Well, I got mine for $88," and then criticized his predecessor, and you just have just a lot of disarray. I don't understand it. I would think somebody would say this is not marketable.
Let's get our act together.
But the one thing we have to watch out for Democrats, I've been saying this about the national. So what's the alternative on our side?
You can't beat something with nothing.
You cannot. And if your alternative is wacko, more wacko than the other one, they're going to say, I can't stand them, but look what's over there. So we've got to offer good, strong candidates on our side.
Mark, is there any opportunity when you look at those, like I said, informal survey, 800-something odd registered voters participating? We'll be doing a more scientific survey next year. But those numbers give Libertarians hope.
Yeah, they do give us hope, because if we run good candidates for basically smaller offices, we are competitive. We're competitive economically and getting the word out and talking to the voters, et cetera. We may have opportunity to get more people elected. So it does give us that. But it's the same thing that just Robin said. You've got to have something, though. You've got to be able to show this is what we will do and here's how we can do it and this is why. And all three political parties who have automatic ballot access in Indiana are, in my opinion, suffering from the same thing. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. It's just that you've got to have discipline. You've got to have leadership. And sometimes if you have a program and it's 80% good, well, that's better than any other programs being out there. People will go, well, we'll give you a shot. So I'm just floored at what I'm seeing politically all across the United States and in Indiana.
Well, let's take a look at our second set of numbers, Jacob, if we could. Let's throw those up there on the screen. We asked about lawmakers did this session, local governments. Disapproval rating, 81% lawmakers, 85% disapproved on property taxes, 57% blame the state and local governments on property taxes, 61% property taxes should be eliminated, and 66% of those folks believe that property taxes should be replaced by sales taxes. Robin, what does that tell you?
A very conservative Republican poll. I mean, you can see that in the numbers that are reflected there. But as somebody said earlier, nobody walked out of there happy about this session. Nobody. I think that there are elements your poll shows that have been just fine not having property taxes at all. And that tells you that when they go back for their third House meetings and go for those that will hold them back for their third House meetings and try to explain what they're doing, the audience is going to be, I don't buy it. And that's something that could affect state House primaries, I think, next year.
Jim?
I think we have a lot of unhappy Hoosiers. And I think there's Democrats are unhappy. I think Republicans are unhappy. And really, when you look at it, this session did not have a narrative. We always tried when I was there to have an agenda and a narrative that would be full of hope and full of positivity. And I think they just swerved so much, and they really didn't take care of what their message was. And it's all about message when you have social media and people paying so much attention, so many people knowing where the State House is and how they can go there. Whereas, back in the 90s, nobody came to the State House unless there was a big 25,000 people walking through the building, if you remember what I'm talking about. I know,
exactly.
And so I think we have a lot of unhappy. They were led to believe, you elect a new governor, and the old governor's gone, so there's a breath of fresh air in lots of people's minds, and then all of a sudden they lose the narrative in those 4 months, and now you have a lot of unhappy people.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of unhappy people, and the biggest thing is this is an opportunity for libertarians, if they can get their act together, which I think they will in a lot of places. We've got a lot of strengths over across the state of Indiana to do it. The biggest thing is, though, having a message of what we can do differently. And that's going to be the important thing. But right now, it's amazing. I don't care. My friends, Libertarian, Democrat, Republican, they're all talking about the same thing. And that is, we're just not very happy with state government right now.
And the one
Abdul, you brought your poll out right in the middle of tax time, too.
That's a good point.
I mean, federal taxes where people are scrimping and scraping to pay if they owe it. And then May 10th, here comes your property tax bill. So I think that was a tornado in a glass right there, because people were really upset about a lot of things swirling around that.
And the one thing I noticed in this poll, and I think we've probably seen this next election cycle. In 2010, it was a Republican wave. In 2006, it was a Democratic wave. I think the next wave in 2026 will probably be an anti-incumbent wave. If these attitudes continue, that people are just mad. I don't care if Republican, Democrat. I want y'all all gone. But,
that started. I was running for re-election in 2018. Started knocking on doors in 2017, and the doors I would knock on, and these are Republican voters, they were not happy with Trump at that point. They weren't happy with what was going on in their neighborhood, and I didn't get doors slammed on my face, but there was truly unrest all the way back then, and it's like the Tea Party back in 10. They finally got their candidate in 16, but the pressure just continues to grow, and I think that anti-incumbent for next year, that might be a peaking moment where people can really go to the primary ballot and speak their mind about their favorite Republican or Democrat.
Senator is right on it, because even in Northwest Indiana, there are not going to be fireworks shops open because there's too much tariff and nobody has fireworks. Somebody at the 4th of July parade in Zionsville is going to be mad that there's no fireworks. And who are they going to blame? Maybe they blame John Stair. Maybe they blame their state rep. But they're going to blame somebody, and their conduit for that anger will be your primaries, I believe.
Let's take a look at our last set of questions that we took a look at in our informal survey. We asked about local governments, 43% thought local and county government should look at consolidation. 53% thought township government should be eliminated altogether. 70% thought marijuana should be legalized. Big shocker, which I thought was pretty consistent with other numbers we've seen in more scientific polling. And as far as school boards, people don't like them, but people did support school choice and vouchers. And 70% of our audience identified as Republicans or conservatives. Because when I asked the question, because a conservative isn't necessarily a Republican, and a Republican isn't necessarily a conservative, but combine the two, I think that tells a lot about those results that we got. Jim, we'll start with you.
I think if you look at your past surveys, and they're always good with exactly the questions to ask. That's kind of chalk in NCAA tournament terms. I think that's what you see all the time. I mean, don't blame me. I tried to terminate all 9 township fire departments in Marion County in lieu of IFD, and Kernan Shepherd was right in here, and I think they should still tackle that. But that all that information doesn't surprise me at all.
Robin?
Well, you were there. I mean, I guess the outgrowth of gaming came because of a need for revenue.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see an outgrowth of legalizing marijuana come because of a need for revenue, particularly if 7 out of 10 of a conservative Republican-leaning poll is saying they're fine with it. I don't know why people would object to that.
Mark?
Yeah, looking at that and everything, we're going to I see some big changes coming up. And it's just Indiana, I tell people from outside Indiana, we just tend to be kind of really think things through before we do it. That's
or just slow and stubborn.
We're slow and stubborn too, yes. And so I see some things like that marijuana, everybody else is doing it other than Indiana and a few other states. Yeah. That's going to be a great way to raise taxes, and we're not going to lose money to other states because there's a lot of people who enjoy marijuana. And so it's going to be some big changes coming up.
And also, too, I think overall, we look at sort of the poll in perspective. I think the big takeaway from our survey that we did is, number one, people are angry and they're tired of taxes and they're tired of politicians.
And they like gummies.
And yes, they do. And in this political climate, you need the gummies to deal with the politicians.
I'm going to tell you something. And 100% of the people tune in and read it. Don't let anybody fool you, Abdul. We all read it. When you give us the flash that it's coming, everybody's okay. When's it come out? Yeah. So the bottom line is we do it.
And people in government also can listen to the hoofbeats, and it's almost like there's a posse after you, but you get in front and make it look like a parade. And you remember the referendum on the gaming in the late 80s?
Yes.
And then we legalized it. I mean, the legislature kind of follows, gets the message some. If it's an anti-incumbent year next year, they'll get the message, no question about it.
Yes. And all it takes is for a major incumbent to lose. Because I go back to the property tax revolt of 2007, to Bart Peterson losing to Greg Ballard. Yes. That's in shockwaves on both ends of Market Street. Because before, people were like, property taxes, whatever. But when they saw Bart Peterson with a 60% soft approval rating and $3 million in the bank lose to a guy who only had $50,000 and 2 campaigns, so that put the fear of God in folks.
I think Lugar losing changed the way the party operated, too. I mean, remember, he's floating along as a very, very well-respected incumbent and gets beat by Murdoch, and then obviously Donnelly wins that seat. I think that's had a long-term impact on the Republican Party also.
All right, let's take a look at our last topic, our predictions, politicians, the whole 9 yards. Jake, if you throw it last stream there. Anything you folks see in our crystal ball in the last couple of minutes we've got left here that our viewing audience should be paying attention to in the rest of 2025 and to look forward to 2026. Jim, we'll start with you.
Are you looking for losers and winners?
You can do that too.
Okay. First of all, I think a winner is we expanded the Lifeline law this year. So kids who may make a mistake and become inebriated and call or text 911, and we expanded the law. So I think college kids and high school kids, for that matter, win. I think Rob Kendall, with all the content that the legislature and the leaders in the State House gave him, his program on WIBC from 9 to 12 really grew. Now, I think a loser is transparency. I think transparency went by the wayside with this legislature, and for somebody that wrote the public access counselor law, I'm sad about that.
I
think the winner in this whole deal are going to be people that are going to tune in more than they ever did to what goes on in the State House.
IndyPolitics.org?
And IndyPolitics.org also.
Just sign up for the daily email, get a cheat sheet. That's all I care about.
I think that people are going to tune in more than ever before. I think the loser, you're right, transparency. But man, I mean, I'm going to stay on this drumbeat. These cars were ridiculous. I mean, $95,000 for a car. I mean, that's the average home value in Beech Grove. I'm not making fun of it. That's a fact. And $88,000 for a car. I mean, come on. Seriously, you really need that?
And also, while you're chastising the government, that the government spending too much money, the government needs to cut back. Well, you may want to kind of follow your own advice and not buy a Land Rover vehicle. Mark, I'll give you the last word. Mark.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little differently, and this is partisan school boards. And I'm very fascinated about how that's going to work. I can't predict how it will because I know where I live. I live in Carmel. We pretty much know everybody running and who they are. And you have some Democrats that are conservative, some Republicans that are more not conservative. But you have an idea what they are. I've seen Washington Township in Marion County. I've seen these little kind of pseudo-political parties where they all are under the same banner with a name. They don't last until the next election usually. But I'm just very interested to see what effect, if any, that has. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. I like the partisan label from the standpoint that it helps me to understand where at least that person thinks they're coming from or who they rely upon. But it's going to be fascinating.
Well, my biggest winner for this session was the media because we had tons of stuff to write about. Yeah. Like I said,
content.
I was joking saying the content. It's bad for government, but it's good. It's good for business. Unfortunately, and my biggest loser is former 7th District congressional candidate Gabriel Willey, who won a 90-day stay in possibly lovely Terre Haute Federal Penitentiary. So couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Wow. Okay.
Boom.
Hey, let's mess around and find out. Our guests on the program today have been Democrat Robin Winston, Republican Jim Merritt, Libertarian Mark Rutherford. Gentlemen, as always, thank you all very much for being with us. And thank you all very much for being with us as well. And our good friends at the Edge Media Studios in downtown Indianapolis for putting up with us today. Thank you all. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.